Stanley water bottle is over, and I am the trend forecaster that thinks so. I would not call myself a trend forecaster, but I do research trends for a living. To be clear, a water bottle will always be functional, but in terms of being an it accessory, it's on its way out. Why am I so sure? 2 reasons. We saw all of the millennial moms in the suburbs fighting over the last Target Stanley limited edition tumbler. Once the millennial mothers pick up on a trend, it's no longer cool among the early adopters. The other example is similar. When all of the tween girls were opening their Stanleys on Christmas, crying tears of joy because they were so happy. You as a young person want to have the same accessory, makeup, clothes as someone 5-10 years younger than you? No. If you took marketing classes in college, you might remember this. The diffusion of innovation theory has been around since 1962, but it explains trends like the Stanley craze. Platforms like TikTok have made the trend cycle effectively collapse, but the general ideas remain true. The innovators were the first ones to pick up on a trend. This might be someone who came across the Stanley Quencher was first released in 2016, and then maybe they took a photo with it on social media. They were an early adopter. They saw something, they thought it was cool, they thought it was different than their Yeti, they wanted to switch things up, so they got this Stanley Quencher. Say that person got it in 2016. Then the early adopters jump on. They all see the innovators carrying these pastel Stanley tumblers and they think, that's cool. That's cooler than my Hydro Flask. I don't want my Yeti anymore. And so then they seek out the Stanley tumbler. Then there's the early majority, and then there's the late majority. Right now we're seeing the late majority. We're seeing the tween girls. We're seeing the moms in the suburbs. Now look, I'm not trying to make generalizations about millennial moms in the suburbs. I'm just explaining what a late majority looks like. They are not cutting edge. They are not experimenting with trends. They are seeing something on the early majority who has seen it on earlier adopters who have seen it on innovators before them. They are coming to it late. If you are buying a Stanley tumbler now, you are coming to it late. If I bought a mini platform now, I would be probably coming to it as a late majority. All the cool girls got it for Christmas. Trends happen so quickly that even just a couple of weeks have passed and I would still be sort of late to the trend. And then finally you have laggards. Laggards are the very last people. They are the people who in 2 months from now will see a Stanley tumbler on Instagram and think, huh, that looks cool. They won't have seen any of these headlines. They won't necessarily be aware it was a craze. They might think, this is a cute water bottle. Again, I am not a trend forecaster, I'm just a trend researcher, but if I were to pretend to be a forecaster for a second, I would say that the Awala is the next cool bottle. It has already been adopted by early adopters, and it's actually approaching early majority because I'm seeing it all over my TikTok. That means that the innovators, whoever they may be, are likely on to the next. Whether that is a water bottle that you and I have never even heard of yet, whether that is a brand that is seeding it to very, very cool upper echelon influencers. Like we don't know what the next bottle is because we are not innovators. Maybe you are. I am not an innovator. I'm just a measly trend researcher who is trying to make sense of all of these consumer habits. I do want to say one more thing as a not trend forecaster but researcher. I do think the Stanley water craze is more akin to Beanie Babies than a Yeti. It is a flex. It is a gratifying thing to collect. It is a status symbol that people are using as an accessory. They are not using these water bottles simply to hydrate. Hydrating might be a nice bonus, but it is not about the water bottle. It is about the item. It is about the status. It might as well be a designer purse because if you have one of the water bottles that no one else can get their hands on, one of the Starbucks Stanleys, one of the Target Stanleys, you are in the know. And that's how status items work. If you see someone wearing the Lululemon wide leg leggings, you think to yourself, that person is in the know. If you see someone with a Stanley now, you think, oh, that person follows trends. If you saw someone with a Stanley 6 months ago, a year ago, even a year and a half ago, you would think that person is ahead of the curve. They are cool as hell. They're carrying a Stanley. Now I want a Stanley. Side note, my water vessel is an old pickle jar, so I am not an authority here. I'm just explaining the way trends work.